Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Oh, Pete dropped. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. You have myself, Joe, and half a watcher today. He's, we're going to apologize for his voice early on. I'm going to force him to talk to you, though, so that you understand why he won't be talking for the rest of the program. We're talking the Idaho ambush and the New York Commie on the Council of Future Conflict, episode 534. Joe, I mean, I tell you, this Idaho ambush thing, I guess it shouldn't surprise us. We've been talking about these terror attacks in the domestic arena for a while, but I'll be honest with you, I was kind of taken aback by it because direct fire is not something that you see every day in these kinds of attacks.
Well, we'll talk about it more when we get to the segment, but I'm not surprised by it because every time there's a major piece of gun control legislation coming up, something like this happens. And look back to Las Vegas and San Bernardino and what was going on in the political arena at those times. It doesn't really surprise me. The fact that it's Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is a little too on the nose, but we'll talk about that when we get into this.
Yeah, I thought the same thing too. I mean, if anybody who's been around knows that Coeur d'Alene's had kind of a infamous history of various radical kinds of folks who love to cause trouble. So, like you said, we'll get into it later in the show. But first, Pete, how you doing, brother? Glad you could finally make it.
Yeah, hey, I'm doing pretty good. Wife and I spent all weekend taking turns brush hogging several acres of land by using a push brush hog. So that was very nice. We had to thin out some trees and stuff like that. So that's what my weekend was.
Yeah, well, I mean, got to get some work done, I guess, from time to time.
Oh yeah, we're gonna clear off about 2 acres and plant some hardwoods.
All right, watcher, say hello to the people so they can hear your voice and they won't ask you to talk again.
What's up, everybody?
Exactly, that's enough. Sorry, watcher will not be as his normal effusive and talkative self. He is feeling a bit under the weather. We should be happy that he's even here. So watcher, thank you for braving the storm and joining us. If you need to step away for a water or lozenge or a throat transplant, you just let me know. And
you know what's funny? I hadn't even thought about that. I do have those fisherman licenses here, and I totally forgot about that.
I'm just telling you. Is it sore throat or is it just a kind of
some kind of drip? I think it's a strep-ish kind of thing. Is what it feels like because I can't swallow very well.
What it is just the aftermath of a watcher rant. We all know this. I'm going to stop pretending like it's not true.
Yeah, it's whatever the kids picked up. So, hooray!
Well, that's the great thing about kids. They bring all kinds of interesting love into your life.
Yeah.
All right. We're praying for you, brother. Go get a lozenge while.
You know what else I did over the weekend? I dyed a bunch of fantastic Army Universal Camouflage pattern stuff.
The old ones?
Into a darker green. Yeah.
Yeah. How did they turn out?
They turned out pretty good. I don't have any right here with me, but they turned out really well.
What kind of green is it? More of a brownish green? No,
I use the apple green. It actually makes it a pretty good color when you combine it with what's already on there.
Yeah. Now somebody was showing me they were doing overprint screen printing or something like that on those because they're so light. The color is so light that you could just supplement the camo pattern or whatever with screen. I don't know how that would work.
Problem with screen printing is that it comes off eventually.
Right.
Dye does not.
Yeah. Yeah, the screen printing wouldn't change the underlying colors, right? It would just kind of add to the layer or the pattern or whatever. So I don't know. Anyway, it's I've seen people do the dyeing before. I don't think it looks bad. I mean, it just it makes it more useful. I mean, because they're not very useful otherwise.
Well, Be Prepared in our chat, he dyes the gear and then resells it. So if you're looking for some dyed gear, Be Prepared is your man.
Oh, wow. Be Prepared. I never thought of that. Like, I've straight up got that machine to do all that sublimation stuff, and I never even thought about the fact that you could just buy gear. And God damn it, I'm an idiot.
Well, I mean, one of these things is not new. No, just kidding, Watcher.
Oh, I mean, we laugh because it's funny. All right. Nice to see Stormy in the chat. Stormy is a old school member of the chat, so always good to see the old ones coming back around. Yeah, right. So I'm with her on this one. If you guys are sitting here in the chat, and there are more than a few of you, yeah, we're looking at 53 on YouTube, 125 on X, and let's see where we're at on Rumble. About 56 on Rumble. If you would just take a second to hit the like button, it's really easy, and you can even do it on the Rumble phone app if you're listening on the app. So it used to be the Rumble app was kind of dog water, but it's gotten a lot better recently.
So over the weekend and late last week, went to Glacier National Park. Listen, if you no matter how you feel about the debate about the public lands, go out and enjoy them. They're yours.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see why we don't want people building apartments on them or whatever. But I played a little game with my family called Mountain West or Mumbai, where we would go out on a trail and get to the apex of the trail where the most people were and the best scenery there was. Now it's close your eyes and listen. Now tell me if you're in the Mountain West or if you are in Mumbai. And every single time they said Mumbai. And I'll let you draw your own conclusion as to why that was.
So. Yeah. I did see a funny clip of some, I don't know, Pakistani, Indian truck drivers that were such bad truck drivers that they had a brand new tire on their rim and they hit the rim and destroyed the rim and broke the bead on the tire. Did you see that video? And the guy's just like, the guy's videoing, laughing at him. And he says, why are you videoing? Because this is funny as shit. You guys suck as drivers. I hate to say it, but that culture does not have what you would call a culture of excellence built into it.
I have a video because I'm talking to Yarctic Boy in the chat about going to Glacier. I have a video of me from just a couple days ago sledding down a hill in Glacier National Park with no sled. I just went sliding down the hill. It was actually fun. Anyway.
All right. Anything else, Pete, Joe, Watcher? Joe, you got a little something to get us started on, I think, right?
Yeah, I want to talk about an event that I was at that I am currently wearing the shirt for. So, Watcher, you want to pull up that first photo? And share it. So this weekend, we had the Swan Valley Youth Outdoor Education Rendezvous. They're in your there you go. So in this, we had 80 kids come out, and not a cell phone was in sight. Go ahead and flip to the next one. We had classes on various things, like I was teaching land navigation, and then we had classes on animal tracking, wilderness first aid, dog first aid. This one here is pack animals, how to actually pack a mule and get up in the mountains. Go ahead to the next one. There's a lot of great things. This thing is entirely donation driven and it's free. And what we're doing is getting these kids out here. There you go. Just start clicking them, teaching them how to actually put up a old school walled tent, not one of the modern ones with aluminum, how to actually use the wood and make it happen. That was really cool. The kids had a great time at the whole thing. We had a big barbecue out there. We had hot dogs for lunch and ribs for dinner. And it was actually, it was well received by the community and by the kids. They had learned how to identify animal tracks, learn how to do trapping, how to get your own animal out of a trap. Pretty cool thing here. They had a mock thing there so they could practice packing mules and putting the boxes on them and everything. But I think the next one shows one of the attendees who was a real jackass.
Why was he? What do you mean he's a real jackass?
Because he's stubborn as a mule.
Boom.
I asked this dude if I knew his cousin because those who know channel lore, I had to ride one of these in the Darien Gap when I was a young lad. But the real reason why I went there, it's right there, the fantastic lunch that they had. You can't get more kid lunch than a cookie and a hot dog, right? And
I mean, everybody's happy, right?
Right, everyone's happy. It was actually a great event. And like I said, every instructor is a volunteer, and everything done there is donation based. So I'm going to drop in both chats the Swan Youth Org donation link. If you feel moved to help, that'd be great. If not, don't worry about it. But I just wanted to give everyone an opportunity to do what you can to contribute to this. One of the things that these young kids don't have a lot of times is an adult mentor. And that's what this was all about. The guy who runs it, Fred Finizzi, told me that his favorite thing is like there are so many kids here in the Swan Valley who got their first deer hunt or first turkey hunt with him because their dads weren't into that. So we were out there being the dads this weekend and getting kids involved in outdoor stuff. And the kids were having an absolute blast. You didn't hear anyone say, no, I want to go home and play video games because they're having so much fun. So check it out. We had a great time. And if you could support us, support us.
Yeah, we've got the link. Yep, there it is. It's in the chat. SwanValleyYouth.org/donate. Definitely give that a look. Joe, is this going to be something they'll be doing regular events, or is this?
Oh yeah, this is they do this every year, and I'll be involved in it every year going forward. And it's actually at that little airstrip. Remember the little airstrip we drove by down there?
Yeah.
Right on the airstrip, and it's very, very cool. Just down the road. By the way, I just learned something yesterday that is the coolest thing ever. This guy will be driving a fire truck in a parade in that little town, Condon. So that's going to be pretty cool.
That's
driving
awesome,
the Camp Ponderosa fire truck. Those of you who've been there have seen this. I'm going to be driving it through the parade, and Mrs. Tactical Wisdom will be walking behind, handing out otter pops to the kids because it's 4th of July and it's going to be hot. So pretty cool stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. If you if this is the Swan Valley Youth is the place to drop some shekels if that's something that you would want to support. And if there's an opportunity, tell them that Tactical Wisdom sent you.
Absolutely.
All right, gentlemen, let us begin. I like bringing up stuff that nobody's ever heard about. Like this. Security forces disperse Togo protesters demanding president's resignation. Fayur Nsingbe, I actually looked that up. Nsingbe.
Wait, are you telling me there's unrest in Africa?
I know.
Say it ain't so.
Joe, say it ain't so. Shockingly. Fayur Nsingbe facing criticism over charges of the country's constitution that could keep him in power indefinitely. Wow, I mean, I can't imagine anybody would be have any problem with something like that. Hey, real quick, before we get too deep into this, Watcher, if you could you like maybe bring up Google Earth or something like that and show all the people where Togo is on the map? And I'll start reading the story while you bring that up. Security forces.
Vacation hotspot of West Africa.
Yeah. I just wanted people to see, security forces used tear gas to disperse hundreds of protesters who blockaded roads in Togo's capital to demand the resignation of longtime leader Faure Gnassingbé. Hundreds of protesters set up concrete block barriers. Wow, it sounds like South Africa, like the whole area denial tactics that you get in South Africa. Concrete barriers on Thursday and several here we go. Yeah, let's see.
Togo, so it's life right there. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me blow this up just a little bit. Yeah, so just between Benin and Ghana, right? Now, Ghana, it's not the worst place in the world. Benin, I'll be honest with you. Benin is like, oh God, thank God it's Togo this week, not us, right? So this is the kind of the eastern portion of that, that kind of stretch where you have, Ivory Coast, Liberia, all these kind of, champion states of the world lottery. And then Lagos. Anybody ever heard of Lagos? That's right.
I've heard of Legolas.
Legolas. Because it's right next to Nigeria too, and so Nigeria, if you remember, we talked a couple weeks ago. That's one of these countries that has the kind of the plague of ISIS and Boko Haram, kind of nipping from the north. Togo also borders against Burkina Faso, another one of our kind of Sahel favorites. Where the Sahel is Burkina Faso.
Well, remember, Ghana was going to invade Burkina Faso right after the.
That's right.
The coup. I mean, everyone trembles at the thought of Ghanan light infantry.
Well, Ghana, but Ghana has got that Western backed. I can't remember. There was a Ghana. I can't remember the countries, but it was like this coalition of basically Western backed African countries that said that they were going to lay down the law.
Were they willing? Was it a willing?
ECOWAS, right?
Yeah, ECOWAS.
Yeah.
Economic Community of West African State. I've heard when you get invaded by Ghana, it's not called an invasion; it's called gonorrhea.
All right, heavy police presence was set up throughout the capital, where many businesses closed for the day. Military jeeps were also deployed as reinforcements in some areas. We're hungry. Nothing works for Togolese youth anymore. Togolese. I didn't know that's what they were called, but it makes sense, I guess. That's why we're going out to protest this morning, said Kosi Albert, a 30-year-old unemployed man, adding he's planning to turn out again on Friday. Hodabalo Awete, Togo's Minister of Territorial Administration, did not immediately respond to requests for comment on the security forces' response to the protest. Joe, I was just thinking, I think maybe African war would be good for us because the names of places are so obscure. I could say it wrong and nobody would ever know.
Right.
You say a Ukrainian city wrong, and there's always some smart ass who knows how to pronounce it, right? But Africa,
I'll never forget this wonderful man I know named Henry from Nigeria who once told me, "You're talking about vacation hotspots." He goes, "Vacation hotspot like Liberia." I'm like, "I'm sorry, did you just say Liberia is a vacation hotspot?" He goes, "Well, I am from Nigeria." I'm like, fair point, brother.
Yeah. Patrick Seven says, "Hello from Rome, Ohio. So happy to be on this work trip." That reminds me. Have you guys seen that YouTuber who's going through Rome, Italy, and basically going, "Look at this. It doesn't look like Italy. It looks like some Morocco or something like that." He's basically just showing how degenerate it's these European countries are becoming because of just infested with immigrants who are basically doing nothing. They're doing drugs out in the open. They're taking over spaces that that Romans used to walk. But but this wouldn't be the first time Rome's been sacked, Joe.
Yeah, it's not the first time. There's a reason why the Vatican City is surrounded by a wall.
Yeah, that's right. Watcher.
I was going to say, I saw one that was kind of interesting.
Oh,
I saw story that I saw this weekend about Italy was that Maloney came out and deported one of these imams that was inside of her country.
Yeah.
Basically saying, we're going to replace you and all this other dumb garbage bullshit, which why that isn't done on the regular the second these guys start preaching that is utterly beyond me.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. So most of these people deserve a one-way ticket back to wherever they came from. But Maloney
wanted proof that Patrick Seven was a Fed. He claims to be in Ohio, and we all know the truth about Ohio.
There's no such place. No such.
There we
place.
go.
All right. Let's see. A coalition of political groups known as Hands Off My Constitution said in a Facebook post on Wednesday it strongly urges Faure to immediately and unconstitutionally release all of the roughly 100 political prisoners and to take urgent measures to restore purchasing power to the population. So, Joe, it's countries like Togo what cause this, people to want to leave, right? And, maybe they get a handout somewhere. Maybe they get an opportunity. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of people in these African countries just want honest work for, honest pay for an honest day's work. They're not too different than most of us, right? The problem is that there's always people looking for a better deal, an easier deal. And too many of those people mix in with the hard workers. And it make it impossible for us to take any of these immigrants in because ultimately they don't respect the institutions, they don't respect the society, and they seek to destroy it.
Well, what's an honest day's work in West Africa?
Well, I mean, it's obviously different by the place, but I think that there are regular,
sending emails to Americans about being a prince from Nigeria.
From Nigeria. That's right. By the way, I just want to make sure we catch this. I had to refresh my Rumble chat. Low-Key LARP gifted 5 subscriptions to Future Conflict. Thank you, brother. I know he's got his OCD is keeping up to make sure that there are no white chats within the chat. So appreciate your. All right. Anything else on Western African anarchy? Because that's what it is, boys. It's anarchy.
It's Western Africa being Western Africa.
I know you can't even say anarchy because Western Africa is anarchy. It's like an oxymoron, like the Sahara Desert. You're just saying desert twice. All right.
Arab bread. I mean.
All right. Let's move on, shall we? So, Trump had a big weekend. We had a big Friday. Mm-hmm. One of the things that most people had no clue about. This is one I like talking about because this is something that we've talked about, Joe, on this show, right? Kind of sticking in the theme of African anarchy. We have talked on this. So if you are a viewer of this program, then you already know kind of the general idea. You basically had Rwanda and the Congo, ongoing conflict for a long time. Most recently, I think it's the M23 rebels, which were basically backed by Rwanda and sent them into eastern DRC. And then the M23 rebels quickly took over the city of Goma, which is the regional capital in the eastern province of I forgot the province. Anyway, the point is that if you paid attention to this channel, you already knew about this. One of this is where that South African unit got surrounded and had to surrender to the rebels. There were several massacres that carried out, just all around dirty business, exactly what you would expect from an African bush war. So it's good to see that this has come to an end. And the irony is that Trump basically out-China'd China on this. He basically tied together some fairly lucrative mineral rights deals and U.S. exploitation to kind of pull out the win.
And apparently he gave that dude some sweet M81 drip.
Well, that's what I was just going to point out to you, Joe. There's literally not a single guy here has the exact same camo. We got...
you said Africa right in it. I mean...
I know. Well, you got M81. You've got faded multicam. You got what almost looks like a Marpat kind of, but it's like a bastardized Marpat. It's more that doesn't have any black or brown in it. And then you've got like this gray kind of field uniform. And by the way, they all have on those kind of German World War II style tall boots, versus like lace up combat boots.
Yeah. There's a lot of French lizard pattern in that area too. So,
yeah. So this is a BBC article. DRC Congo Rwanda peace deal met with skepticism in rebel-held cities. So we're going to just kind of talk about how it's going in the conflict zone. The signing of a peace deal, a peace agreement between the governments of the DRC and Rwanda in Washington has elicited mixed reactions, with the former Congolese president, Joseph Kabila, describing it as nothing more than a trade agreement. And I kind of agree that they're using a trade agreement to get everybody on the same page. And the one thing that can get people to stop fighting a lot of times is the knowledge that they will make, inordinate amounts of money. The deal signed on Friday demanded the disengagement, disarmament, and conditional integration of armed groups fighting in the eastern DRC Congo, but offered few other details. While some, including Kabila, have been critical, others have hailed the agreement as a turning point. Yeah, because Kabila's pissed off because he's not the one who had any part of it, and he's not getting paid. Have been critical, and others have hailed the agreement as a turning point in the devastated conflict, which has dragged on for decades. Rwanda has denied allegations. It backs an armed group known as M23, which has been fighting in the eastern DR Congo. The conflict escalated this year when M23 rebels seized control of large parts of the eastern DRC, including the regional capital of Goma, the city of Bukavu, and 2 airports. The UN says thousands of people have been killed and hundreds of thousands of civilians forced to flee from their homes due to the recent rebel offensive. The M23 disputes these figures, saying fewer than 1,000 people died. After loss of territory, DRC government turned to the U.S. for help, reportedly offering access to critical minerals in exchange for security guarantees. Eastern DRC is rich in coltan and other resources vital to the global electronics industry. Let's see. Kabila questions the choice of the deal's participants, saying the DRC is not at war with the states depicted in the photo of the signing, which include President Donald Trump and other U.S. officials, as well as Rwanda's foreign minister. So, Joe, far be it for me to criticize Trump for being a little early about things. I think he has reason to be, optimistic, but it might be too quickly to kind of put a pin in this one, right?
Well, it's Africa, so it's really hard to put a pin in anything there because they fight over lots of things and nothing all of the time. And in every one of these countries, in addition to whomever the main fighting forces are, you will also have tribal groups, you will have ethnic groups, and you'll have various other factions involved in the fighting that might not be who you thought was the beginning, who you thought was the actual combatant in it. So peace deals in Africa are always looked at with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Pete?
Yeah, it's Africa, and I know that there has been a recent turnover in whatever, like Wagner forces have left the continent and have been replaced by a Moscow-backed mercenary force, and that's only
Africa Corps, right?
Yeah, yep. And I think that's just again Russia trying to get more control over certain aspects of Africa, and Africa is the scramble for Africa is occurring again.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think, Joe? Do you think that it's that the mineral deal clearly is kind of like the most important part? The Trump administration is absolutely kind of hanging its hat on the mineral aspect of this and the economic benefits to us. I mean, our tech industry is like a voracious, wild animal that just continues to suck all that stuff in, and we need to secure our supplies. And I saw some ridiculous number that both countries have over $20 trillion worth of mineral wealth to be exploited. So clearly there's a lot of money to be made. Do you think that gives an advantage maybe over other places?
I don't know. There's just so many minerals in Africa, and everyone's fighting for them. I don't know specifically which ones are in which country, but I think that we're way behind China on this project, and we need to catch up, or we're going to end up left behind.
No, I think you're right. Anybody else got anything on this? I just wanted to kind of I guess so this was announced on Friday in the White House, in the Oval Office. I mean, I think Friday was a pretty good day for Trump, all in all.
Yeah.
Pete, didn't you say you had some stuff on some of the other stuff that was announced?
You had the Supreme Court's ruling on it wasn't on whether if it was legal or not. But lower courts could not stay, or they cannot hold up Trump's
nationwide injunctions
against the birthright citizenship. Yep.
Yeah, I know this is one of those kind of things that it's a double-edged sword, right? The Democrats can use it exactly the same way that the Republicans can use it. But let's be honest. I mean, I don't think the Republicans usually have done that in the past. So. And God forbid, even if the Democrats win, I think the president should have the ability to enact the policies that they were elected to enact.
And certain aspects of the Constitution are up for debate.
Sorry. Your Arctic boy's got a good point there. Have you ever seen the Empire of Dust? Africa could have $1 quadrillion worth of minerals. And it wouldn't matter because you can't get them out. If you can't even build a road. Well, I mean, that's one thing that China's actually been fairly successful with, basically ignoring all the other things, just building the infrastructure to get to the mines. And I hate to say it, but they're basically raping Africa blind. I mean, look, you get a Uganda, right? Uganda says, yeah, we'll let you kind of improve our airport and all this kind of stuff. And then when they don't pay up to China, then China literally forecloses on their airport. And so the main airport in Entebbe is, under Chinese management.
I don't know, man. If we're talking about a scale of like Belgium to Greenpeace, they certainly aren't Belgium. But they're not Greenpeace either.
Well, as I pointed out, that every warlord is going to try and steal it from you, and the Chinese have had their share of problems with West African warlords. If you remember, last year we covered a pretty intense firefight between Sinogard and a bunch of warlords who had taken the mining company management hostage. So yeah, it's a rough country, rough part of the world to work in. And the Belgians, since Washer brought it up, the Belgians did one of the coolest things ever is when they were managing their parts of Africa, they channeled their inner Rhodesian and created Belgian brushstroke, their own camo pattern based on their.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some interesting stuff to happen here, but ultimately, I think the thing that's going to get them in the end is the fact that Africa hasn't learned its lessons, right? It hasn't learned how to govern itself without just endemic corruption, or just out and out exploitation of their own people.
You know what? Mentioning Africa has reminded me of something of a funny incident from the last few days. Look, I got the autistic watcher fired up.
Little Belgian brushstroke.
So, fan of the show, Tomas, he was at Glacier National Park while I was, and he saw my car there. But we were texting back and forth trying to link up in the park, but it's really hard because you can't get a cell signal there. So after the park, we're trying to find somewhere to eat, and we pull into this Mexican restaurant in a random town. And I'm like, hey, is that Tomas? And it was. So we ended up getting to link up, and his sister is a missionary in Zambia. And once she told me that, it gave me the opportunity to randomly launch into a lecture about the history of Zambia, which is not actually Zambia. It's North Rhodesia. So I probably bored this poor woman to death with my story. But she was like, oh, not a lot of people know that. I'm like, well, I know that. But anyway, and Pinochet, who killed Dag Hammarskjöld? We all know who killed Dag Hammarskjöld, the Republic of the Congo. Not the DRC, but the Republic of the Congo.
Yeah. All right. Pinochet's helicopter tours for $1. R.I.P. Roland, who met his demise in the Congo. That's right. Hog Jim for $1 says, get well soon, watcher. By the way, this is a good opportunity for me to mention, if you want to support the program, a super chat is an excellent way to do it. You pay a little bit of money and I read your chat. It's a guaranteed way to make sure that if you have a question or you have a point you want to get across, that's how you do it. You can even do it on YouTube or on Rumble. I like it better on Rumble because we keep a bigger percentage. But anyway, it's nice that you guys are willing to support the channel, so thank you. Africa, Juan Cholo says, Africa is full. Oh, let me pull it up. Africa is still full on Iron Age semi-nomadic people. We would have a hard time making Iron Age Britain semi-nomadic herders, except modern Western governance as well. I mean, you know, like I heard the best argument I've heard was by an African gentleman who basically said, yeah, did the Europeans exploit us? They did, but they didn't just come in and take our stuff and send it home. They literally built entire countries for us. You know, they gave us European level capitals and buildings and infrastructure because they had to have, you know, roads to drive their trucks on, and they had to have railroads to ship their stuff around, and all that stuff worked just great during the colonial era. But guess what? As soon as they leave in the 60s and the 70s, guess what? It all starts falling apart. It doesn't start falling apart because it stopped. There's some kind of magic that the Belgians have, or the English have, or the Germans have in order to make it work. It falls apart because we can't be bothered to fix it, because we would rather ignore the legacy of civilization that they left behind and embrace our own basic stupidity. So I thought it was a pretty interesting explanation that he gave. You know, I had never really thought about it. Basically, in the capitals specifically, but in the densely colonized areas, there was literally European levels of infrastructure. Same thing in India, you know.
Well, but here's the thing. There's two pieces to that. One, if you yell, colonizer, go home, we eventually will go home. And then you're stuck running your country on your own. But what has happened in Africa, the other half of that is that what has happened in Africa is that every time things then went all the way to crap, they started screaming, but where are the Europeans to save us? Rwanda being a classic example. When they fell into sectarian fighting back and forth, all of the normies who lived there were like, but where are the Belgians and the French to come and save us from ourselves? And eventually that is what had to happen. It's troubling that way. I would rather see them stand on their own feet and do it themselves. They have tried with what's that other group that uses mostly Kenyan troops? Afra something or other. What is it?
Oh, I
The
can't.
Pan-African Union, I guess.
Yeah.
Pan-African Union uses primarily Nigerian troops. I mean, Kenyan troops to try and do that, but it really hasn't ever worked out very well. So.
You want to get depressed. Look, you sound normal there for a second there, Watcher.
Yeah, if I go in the higher registers, I'm a little bit fine, but I don't really like to talk up there most of the time.
The funny thing is, hey, we got a little can. I tell you, brother, you got the link. Whatever you want to come in, you were supposed to come on last week. I'm just saying. Whenever you got time, brother.
If Danny already couldn't leave Africa, what makes you think anyone else is going to be able to?
I know. There's something beautiful about that place for sure.
Corrected me. It's the African Union. Speaking of people who have the link and ought to be able to get on.
Yeah, exactly right. Jim, thank you very much. Coming in for the save. Anyway, so you want to get depressed sometime? Go and just plug into your favorite LLM. What countries in Africa haven't had some sort of a violent conflict in the last 5 years? The list is very short. All right, moving on.
By the way, speaking of map nerds, because that's what we are, when we were at the national park, my wife was getting herself a keychain and whatever, and I got myself a map, and she was like, "You are such a nerd." Yes, I am.
So on the news that the summer offensive has kicked off by the Russians over the last couple of days, I thought this was interesting. Continued Russian-U.S. talks prove Putin doesn't think Trump duped Iran with diplomacy. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov confirmed last week that the U.S. bombing of several nuclear sites in Iran won't affect their bilateral dialogue, and declaring that these are independent processes. This is significant since many observers speculate that Trump duped Iran with diplomacy while supposedly plotting to attack the entire time. If true, that it would follow that he might also be duping Russia too. The only people that think that Trump was duping Iran are idiots that weren't paying attention to what he said. He said, "Listen, you got this amount of time to get rid of your nukes, or else we're basically going to get rid of them for you." He said that. You're not going to have nukes, Iran. I mean, I don't know how more plain the man could be. There's no duping. He's coming right out and telling everybody his objective. And Joe, I mean, we saw this like we couldn't have told you exactly how he would respond, but we knew he was going to do something. And it turns out that he threaded the needle in probably the best possible way that both dissatisfied and satisfied almost everybody simultaneously, if that's possible. The warmongers didn't get their big war. But the people who are pro, no new war are like, well, there's no new war, but he did hit. So it's kind of like everybody has a little bit to complain about and a lot to be happy about. Let's see. Putin doesn't adhere to the interpretation, however, that this, which is also proven by him talking about his great respect for Trump and praising his sincere commitment to the peace in Iran. Look who it is. Cannon, brother, how you doing, man?
What's going on, everybody? What's going on? So you got to jump in. I'm off today, actually.
Oh, no kidding. See, you had this is a perfect time for you to come in. Catch us up, man. How are things been and what's going on?
No, I've been pretty busy. I haven't been able to stream as much as I usually do. Bunch of projects going on at the Port of Baltimore. Had some really major network issues for the past couple of weeks, so now I'm just kind of getting to it. Yeah, so my head been down and grinded, but now I've come up for air and Looks like all hell is breaking loose in the world.
Well, I was gonna say I saw you do it live streaming last night over about the Idaho thing. So we'll be talking about that in the main segment. So just real quick, what was your initial impression of that?
So
relax
I'm sorry.
And take notes.
Sorry.
What the hell?
OBS just kicked in. I'm sorry. This is hold on, sorry guys. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
OBS.
Yeah, OBS. I need to. Why is it still going? Sorry, y'all. There we go.
This is now the Canada Hotep show.
Yeah, sorry. My initial reaction was at first I was like, man, I was like, who want to hurt firefighters? I've never heard anybody like want to hurt firefighters. Like you always hear like F-12 or whatever, but you never hear like F ladder 37. You know what I mean? So I'm like, why would they like? And then I was like, well, this had to be some kind of like coordinated ambush. But then it really got shaky when they said that they found a body with a gun, but they don't know if that's the person.
Yeah, if I was trying to escape and evade, I'd kill a local and lay him there with a rifle and buys me 24 to 48 hours to extend and get out.
Exactly. That's what I said. Or it was two shooters, and the second shooter took the first shooter out to buy some time and extract himself out of there. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I hope they got some real deal trackers in there that can kind of get the lay of the land and find out if maybe there were more than one person in there, or you
kind
know,
of hard to track in a fire zone though.
Yeah, but I don't think the bodies are in the fire.
You would be wrong. You would be wrong. They had they had to come in with a helicopter and scoop the body up because the fire line was less than 20 yards away.
Okay. So so that essentially helps destroy all the evidence then too, huh?
Yeah. Like, really, it's very convenient.
Anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about that in the main segment. I just wanted to I saw you live. I had just gotten into work, and so I was kind of checking up, and you and Watcher were the only two people I saw that I knew that were live. So
yeah, I just missed Watcher's stream. I was like, oh man, I wanted to hear what Watcher had to say about it. So I just missed it, and it had just like hit my timeline. I was like, wait, what? Then I had to go look into it. Then it just looked really spooky.
Yeah, it's pretty maximum creepiness for sure, and I kind of echo your sentiments about going after fighters. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Anyway, so we'll get into that here in a second. Let me finish up here with Russia and Trump and Iran. Let's see. Nevertheless, Russian politicians and experts are very critical of Trump's decision to bomb Iran, as was the country's permanent representative at the UN. Their poll mics don't equate to Putin supposedly suspecting Trump of foul play in U.S.'s talks with Iran. However, they do show that Russia was very displeased with what he ended up doing, even though it later expressed cautious optimism about the ceasefire. He claimed credit for brokering. All of this is consistent with Russian policy. On that topic, Russia is also interested in a ceasefire with Ukraine, but only on its terms. These include Ukraine withdrawing from the entirety of the disputed regions, declaring that it no longer will pursue NATO membership. By the way, Joe, I think you and I called it a while back that said that Russia would basically want everything east of the Dnieper River.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much what they're saying. You know, they want that whole region.
Well, and they're going to get it, barring something major that stops their movement, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're steadily on the increase, right? And let's be honest, Ukraine's problem, their limiting factor is their manpower. They just don't have the manpower to fight everywhere all at once.
I'm going to set myself up for a day of NAFO bros shouting hate into my DMs, but this can't possibly be true because I've been told that they can't find a way to defeat the Ukrainian drones that are decimating their troops.
Yeah. Well, for every Ukrainian drone, there's a Russian drone, right? And so to say that Ukraine is owning the drone war basically is to ignore the other half of the drone war. And you know, we've seen plenty of videos of Russians tracking down the Ukrainians. I think the difference is, Joe, is that the Ukrainians have a fetish for filming themselves and their victims usually, whereas the Russians have a little better OPSEC on a lot of that stuff, I think.
Yeah, and for everyone's talk about how bloodthirsty the orcs are, they don't celebrate it. They just handle their business and move on.
Yeah, what's funny is I've never seen a video of a Russian suicide drone that taunted a Ukrainian and then killed him. You know, I've seen them kind of hover around, surrendering Ukrainians, but I've never seen them kill. Now, maybe they're just, sneakier about it because both sides are killing surrendering people. Don't think that they're not. That being said, that's one thing that you've seen tons of video from the Ukrainian side, but you generally don't see that from the Russian side.
I pointed out last night that when someone shared an image of an alleged Aryan Nations group in the Coeur d'Alene, Idaho area, I was like, that flag is also a Ukrainian army unit symbol. Weird.
Yeah, crazy how that works.
Are you saying the Ukrainians did this?
Oh, my gosh. The idea that the U.S. could invest in Russia's rare earth and Arctic energy industries was the first providing the U.S. with its sought-after minerals, and the second leading to them jointly managing the global oil and natural gas market, thus giving each side stakes in the other's success, which is exactly what Trump did in Congo and Rwanda. This could then, in turn, help ensure the relations remain manageable, even if a crisis unexpectedly erupts. With time, Russia and the U.S. could or would reshape the world order, but only if their détente remains on track. So I think, and the author highlights it here, therein lies the importance of continued Russia-U.S. dialogue, which Putin is committed to. In spite of speculation that Trump duped Iran with diplomacy ahead of attacking it, and that's the reason why I don't think there may have been tricks involved with Trump's techniques, but I'll be honest with you, it's nothing that Putin wouldn't do himself if he were in that position.
Right.
Pete, I mean, just kind of looking at the entire situation between Russia and Ukraine, where do you see it right now, and where do you see it going? Did he step away? Did I miss something?
Yeah, turn
he didn't say anything. Yeah.
Pete said he was going on a bio break.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I was looking in the chat. That's it. All right. What do you say, Cannon, with Ukraine and Russia?
I don't know. I don't know about this. Like, I feel like it just grasping at straws at this point. I feel like Russia's still I feel like Russia's still sandbagging this. I feel like Russia's trying to. I feel like they're trying to have is I guess little effect on the citizens in the Ukraine as possible without just going there and just taking it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit of having their cake and eating it too. I think they want to get the best deal possible. That this is you ask for everything the Dnieper River. If that's your opening kind of bid, right, for negotiations. We all know how negotiations work. It won't necessarily be there in the end, but I think, Joe, that's one of the reasons why they're pushing it from north of Kharkiv right now, is because they want to secure that entire sliver of land in Luhansk, Kharkiv, Oblast, and going down into basically the rest of Donetsk.
Zaporizhia. And it's also a move to convince Ukraine that, hey, you've been beaten here. You need to understand that. Otherwise, you lose the whole thing. Take what you can get, or you're going to lose the whole thing.
And that's what I mean. Like, I think that Russia has the upper hand in the negotiations. You got the Eastern Bloc who already feel like they're ethnic Russian, or they are ethnic Russians, and they want to be a part of Russia. So they lose that. And Ukraine doesn't have a, I mean, in my opinion, they don't really have a military anymore. You know, they're snatching people off the street to go and fight. The Ukraine they're in no position to negotiate. I think they need to capitulate to Russia and take whatever deal they come up with, I would say, within reason.
If anything, what they need to do is just kind of agree to do whatever Trump can, hey, they need to go to Trump and basically say, listen, get us the best deal you can because we don't want to fight anymore.
Yeah. And that was back when he was at the White House when he got thrown out.
Yeah. And that's not what he did. That's exactly right.
Right. Exactly.
Pete, you back? No. That boy's got a bladder like a just all right, Joe, I'll let you have the last word on this topic.
I thought I already did.
No, Cannon just talked, so that would have been
Cannon just talked, but I mean, we there's no real point to have here. I mean, Ukrainians are continuing to fight because they want more money flowing in, not because they think they can win. They know that they cannot win. If you ask anyone in the Ukrainian armed forces, they will tell you that. But if you throw more money, we can last longer. But they know they can't win. So the key thing is stopping the grift, stopping the death amongst the civilian populace, and preserving what's left of Ukraine. That needs to be the focus.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, Joe. I mean, there's a lot of Ukraine that's still fairly untouched, right? There's a lot of innocent people that want to get back to their daily lives, and if they make a deal, they can enable that to happen. And they just need to realize they're never going to be part of NATO.
It's really the same as the continuing occupation of Georgia by Russian forces. They still hold South Ossetia and Abkhazia because NATO refuses to take Georgia off the table. That's all they have to do, but they will not do it.
Mm-hmm. All right. I promise you the last word, and you have it. Okay, let's move into the shameless commercial portion of our show. Joe, tell me a little bit about what's going on with tactical-wisdom.com.
Well, we've fallen a little bit behind in posting because we've got family visiting and all that kind of stuff. But we'll get. We'll get back to it. But you can find some cool books there. I know someone just bought some yesterday that I got to get out today. You can find cool T-shirts there, including ones that highlight things like yesterday that says you are already in the collapse, right? So that's a great place to find stuff like that. You can find cool patches there. And more importantly, you can find, there are patches there, mutually assured. It says patches right over there. Click that patches button and let's show off the cool patches that we have. We have the camo patch, we have the OD patch, and we have a first aid patch. All of which are $10. I guess the first aid patch isn't listed. I guess you have to be at an event to get the first aid one because I don't have that many of them. But you can find the patches there. Click on training courses. I had someone ask me, hey, do you have any other community security ops classes? Because yesterday was a classic example of community security ops. Well, yes, we do. We have Fieldcraft coming up right before Shield Field Days. We have First Aid with Project 223. Preparedness, who's coming out the day that Shield Field Days begins. And then right after Shield Field Days, we have Community Security Ops. And then we run through all of them again in late August. So we're having a lot of stuff up there. And for those who've been at any of my other classes, pause it right there where it says Short Range Patrol. We have an FTX coming up August 15th through the 17th, where you can come in and on Friday morning, we do a quick review of patrol principles. We have you plan a patrol. Then you will spend the next 2 nights out conducting a patrol. And you will come back on Sunday and give a patrol report, which is something nobody ever talks about, right? How to take the information gathered in a patrol and actually present it so that it can be used. We're going to do all of that. And then that week after that, take a look at that full week. August 22nd to the 24th, you have Fieldcraft. And then you could go right from that immediately into community security ops. And then we have a 1-day break before we do a combatives weekend. I have at least one person signed up for that whole 9 yards. And I've got a few other people signed up for various pieces of that. But in 1 week, you can get every one of the big classes I offer and be well squared away by the end of it. So check that out.
All right. Very good. That's awesome, man. I love the idea of an FTX, stands for field training exercise, by the way, where they get where the whole point is like, hey, you've been to the class. Now let's take it up a notch. Let's actually do a mission.
Let's actually put those skills to use. Yes.
Cannon, I think that'd be a good one for you.
I would love to do that. That sounds fantastic. I gotta find some time to get out there.
Amen, brother. That's the hardest part of it.
You really got on FTX out here. You've really got to do your full on fieldcraft skills because you have to post security. Otherwise, a bear will come in and take all of your food.
Right? Yeah.
And you should come out for field days, Cannon, and hang out with me and Mexican Iron Man. We're gonna have.
And where's that? Where y'all do that at again?
We're doing that July 25th through 27th
in Montana.
Yep.
I gotta figure that out.
Yeah, that'll be a great event. There's going to be a lot of other vendors there. It would be a good opportunity to make some pretty good connections for you too, Cannon. A lot of really interesting people show up, like from last year. Like there were people in the crowd who were bigger than like me and Joe, and you know what I mean. Like, and that was kind of cool to just meet a lot of luminaries in the community, and people. It's just amazing how humble everybody is, And
you know what? Let me bring that up since you mentioned it. A guy who is under attack right now on Twitter, Exumbris Designs. Leftists are coming, or not leftists, but the crazed right wing people are coming for him, and he's actually one of the coolest, most down to earth dudes you're ever going to meet. I mean, my man was wearing frog skin ranger panties at field days last year, and he's just Eric is just a great guy to know. Former Green Beret, makes all of his own gear in his garage. Pretty awesome dude, and you'll have a good time with him. I'll tell you, you'll appreciate this, Scott. But last night, as events were unfolding, Brandon, the CEO of Shield Alarm, starts texting me. He's like, "Hey, bro, seeing this thing in Idaho, we have to have a plan for you and if somebody sets a fire out there and how we get to you and vice versa." So we spent the night kind of brainstorming that. So I imagine we'll probably talk about it at Shield Field Days too. So pretty interesting.
Well, this kind of every time something new happens, and we're getting ready to talk about this, but I think it's important to mention every time something new happens, that adds a new threat to the kind of the matrix. Right. And it makes changes to your community security plan, because you've got the 10 things ready, but then this gives you an 11th thing. Well, how some of the things from the other 10 apply, but there's always something unique that you have to kind of account for, or a moving piece you weren't expecting to have, or something along these lines. Joe, one of the things that we've kind of talked about is direct fire is not something we have encountered a lot of in the U.S. I mean, outside of school shootings and gangland violence and things like that. But, our adversaries haven't used as much of that in recent past. But I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't start to see that to be a growth industry.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. Since we're on the Mike Lee topic in the chat, I want to point one more thing out. I'm going to make this announcement publicly on the show. I already did it on Twitter. Based upon his tireless fighting and outstanding efforts to protect the public lands in the West, I have lifted the ban on Braxton McCoy playing cornhole at this facility. Braxton McCoy is allowed to play cornhole in this area now, but I do not recommend playing against him. The guy is a shark. He will lie to you about not being very good and then beat literally everyone and take their money. So do not don't play against him. But he can play here now.
That does indeed sound like Braxton McCoy.
I know, right? All right. If you bring a cornhole game, you may play a cornhole game. Let me do the brush beater ad real quick. Welcome back to Council on Future Conflict. Today we're diving into the Idaho ambush and the communist leaving New York City mayoral candidate. We're proud to bring you another ad from our trusted sponsor, Brush Beater Store, arming you for a nation under threat. So just what was it? Yesterday, right? Was it Saturday or was it Sunday? Keep me straight. It was Sunday, right? It was on Sunday. On Sunday, some sniper from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, ambushed firefighters and police responding to a blaze set as bait, killing 2 with high-power rifles and chilling escalation of domestic terror. Meanwhile, New York City's Democratic primary elected Zoran Mamdani, a socialist who critics, including Trump, call 100% communist lunatic, raising the fears of radical policies, fueling more unrest with chaos brewing. Secure comms are critical. At brushbeater.store, the Guerrilla Guide to the Baofeng Radio by NC Scout is your playbook for mastering affordable off-grid comms, covering encryption, field programming, and improvised antennas to stay connected when radical crises strike. The 2025 radio telephone operator or RTO course takes it further, training you in the tactical radio ops for austere conditions with classes at North Carolina, Missouri, Montana, and more. Check out brushbeater.store/collection/field manuals, field-manuals, and /collection/training-courses to get equipped now. Use our exclusive code CFC10 at checkout for 5% off the Baofeng guide, RTO courses, or any gear like helmets, night vision, etc. Orders over $100 shipped for free. Visit brushbeater.store and prep for the storm. Huge thanks to Matt for standing by us here at the Council on Future Conflicts. Head to brushbeater.store, use code CFC10, and stay connected in the chaos. Now, let's get back into the show. Cannon, do you have the Guerrilla's Guide to the Baofeng Radio?
No, but I will be ordering it today because my family is getting a little more paranoid. My wife's side of the family, they're getting really paranoid. They keep asking. Matter of fact, I've hit Joe up about radios because they're so scared that something's going to go down that they want to be able to stay in contact with each other. We all live within like a 10-mile radius, so they want to be able to stay in contact. So yeah, I will definitely be getting that so we can set up means of communication within the next couple of months.
You know, it's for your purpose, it's hard to beat that Baofeng radio, and it's hard to beat, you know, the TTPs that you're going to find in NC Scout's book. Yeah, that's the one. NC Scout right there on the front.
I have this one, and he has this other version that is wire bound. That's actually pretty solid. Yeah, it's right here. That you can actually take in the field with you or keep in your backpack. Same book.
Yeah, that's the one I've got.
Just in a different format, and I love this format. So
yeah, that's the one I've got. Yeah. I tell you, can't.
The first ones, it was the printer screwed it up. It's spelled wrong. It's Gorilla.
Hey, Joe, just, you know, since we got Cannon here, what advice would you give a family, especially one that's fairly geographically co-located? You know, particular kind of radios, particular kinds of anything beyond just the handhelds?
Well, absolutely. I have a vehicle radio in all of our vehicles, 25 watt minimum. That way you get much more range and ability to punch through objects. Everyone thinks watts equals range. Watts also means your ability to talk through buildings or rock. So that's kind of important. You need a vehicle radio. You can pick up a good vehicle radio. I think Matt sells one that's right around $100, $125 with a roof mount antenna, and that will get you 30, 40 miles easy in open terrain. In an urban area, it'll get you 5 or 6 versus 1 or 2. So having that, and like, as far as handhelds, this one several people were here. They're like 20 people witnessed us get 21 miles with this radio. So it's actually
that's the DMR 32.
Yeah. Now we used a jungle antenna to do that, but they didn't. The car that was driving down the road did not have a jungle antenna. They just got out and used it.
That's, Kana, that's one of the things that's kind of important to realize. Your handheld may not have enough power to get back to the vehicle, but but if the vehicle can say, "Hey, I'm on the way. I'm on this. I'm on route Alpha, coming towards your position," whatever. If they hear you, even though you can't hear them, at least you have a good idea of where, what your signal footprint is, and how they can potentially.
I'll tell you too, the cool thing about these, it is perfectly legal to do it without a license. If you've got GMRS or MERS, you can send short text messages. These radios, you can text message from to each other on a digital mode, and you'll get at least twice the range you get with voice. So you might not be able to hear me on the radio, but if I send you a text message over the radio, you'll get that. And that's
what the boat time? Wow. I'm ordering. I'm actually sitting there ordering the book right now.
Yeah. So,
well, use code CFC10 for 5% off. Well, I hope you use the code.
Yep, doing it right now.
By the way, CFC10 for 5% off. Is because Matt has a wonderful sense of humor.
I know, right?
my code for that knife maker in Pakistan is Dolio J 10 off, but it gives you 20 off. So I really don't. Pakistani math, I guess.
I guess you're right. All right. So anyway, yeah, definitely comms are important. And I think you're seeing that a lot. A lot of families are basically saying, things are a little different nowadays.
So Patrick Seven said, Tactical Wisdom, we managed to do that on medium power with the UV5R in Hill Country in class at one time. Yes, the class that we held up there with the weird people with their own church. Yes, it was actually a very good demonstration. I don't know if Matt sells the antenna. Most of the radios, the vehicle mount radios, you have to buy the antenna separate. And I'll just tell you, Nagoya 72 is the one you want for your vehicle. So,
yeah. All right. Definitely take advantage of people's anxiety to kind of get them a little more prepared. I think I hate to say it. Some people think this is being a little manipulative, but honestly, I think these are things that we would all do for any of our loved ones at any time. But, they become more receptive if they perceive a threat. So
seriously, I've been talking about getting a repeater on the roof of Shield Arms for a while. And this incident last night, Brandon was like, dude, we need to get this radio setup done. I'm like, yeah, I know. So, and I've already tied myself into the Swan Mountain people's radio system. So build those networks now so that when you need them, they're already there. So right now, me and the guy from Swan Mountain, we live close enough that we can reach each other by radio with no problem, but we can't reach each other by cell phone. That's important to know.
Yeah. How far is the Shield Arms headquarters?
30 miles.
So do you have a couple repeaters along the way, or is it
one repeater will do it? I can already hit a repeater out past them from here.
Oh, okay.
The antenna. So they've got elevation over me. So they're another 1,000 feet up. So
okay. Low key LARP dropping the 5 gifted sub bomb again. Thank you, brother, for that. Ken and I've got a member of my chat over in Rumble who is OCD, won't allow anybody to not have the little peach background for That's what he tells me. I think it's very generous either way. I don't question generosity. So
I need subscribers like that. He's a giver. He's not a taker. It's fantastic.
I don't mind a taker. I mean, we're here presenting everything for free. Welcome back, Pete. I hope you didn't fall in.
No, I got hungry, so.
No, I got. All right, let's get into the main topic of the day. We're talking about the Idaho ambush. Well, real quick, Watcher, you're from that area. I know your voice is not doing awesome. What's your kind of what's the feeling locally?
Well, I'm not from that area.
Well, but I know not that area. You're a little different part. You're the dusty part.
Very, very different part of the state. But I did watch a local there. The main takeaway is that locals in this area and most of Idaho are particularly firefighters are pretty revered out here, particularly brushland firefighters. Those of you who haven't ever lived on the West Coast and lived particularly in scrublands where it's almost an every 2-3 year battle of watching neighbors get fully displaced and lose their homes. Wildland firefighters aren't just, like the firefighters you see in town that come and do inspections and come pass out stuff for the kids. They're legitimately quite revered. They're usually volunteers from the community who get paid almost bullshit, like absolute bullshit wages to go out and work some of the hardest jobs that are happening in modern times in ridiculous hours in awful conditions. It's mostly digging trenches, if you're unaware. It's backbreaking, awful work, and they very often are exposed to conditions that end up killing them. So the fact that it was an attack on firefighters, particularly, and wildland firefighters, is it's on everybody's mind.
And I'll tell you, there's a massive contract wildland firefighters business. And it's almost like private military contractors. I will give you this warning if you're contemplating such an attack. In Montana, wildland firefighters train with handguns and shotguns due to the bear threat, and they carry them. So you might not get the same response in Montana that you got in Idaho. Just saying.
Well, any state that and there are several that do this, that basically prohibit firefighters from carrying sidearms to defend themselves.
That needs to be made federally illegal immediately, within the week.
Down the road here from us is Sealy Lake. Liberals move into the area and want to change everything to the way where they were from. This California lady moved into the Sealy Lake area and then immediately complained because she was at the fire station and a couple of the firefighters had sidearms on, and it made her uncomfortable. Well, the town council was going to order the fire department to tell the people they can't carry guns, and the fire chief said, "No, I'm not doing that." And he called the county prosecutor, and the county prosecutor is like, "This is Montana. You can't tell these guys they can't carry a gun. It could take 2 hours for the police to get there. They get to carry a gun." So, I was actually proud to see that.
All right, so let's look at the story here. Idaho wildfire ambush. Gunman dead after sniper attack kills 2 firefighters. The suspected gunman behind the deadly ambush on the firefighters on the east side of Canfield Mountain, a popular hiking spot near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, was found dead. Authorities believe he started a brush fire before opening fire on first responders. So thus far, they know 2 firefighters were killed while responding to the brush fire on Canfield Mountain. The third remains in critical condition and was fighting for his life as of Sunday evening. According to the sheriff, the names of the victims have not been released. The sheriff described the attack as a total ambush. The suspect is believed to have deliberately set the fire to lure in first responders. They opened fire. They didn't have a chance. The sheriff said of the slain firefighters. The gunman was later found dead in the mountain with a weapon nearby. The sheriff called it a sniper-style attack, but withheld details about firearms recovered. Additional searches are planned once fire conditions allow. On Sunday evening, Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris described the attack as a total ambush, adding these firefighters did not have a chance. Let's watch a little bit of the video from that.
Real quick, do you have the audio in your notes? Because if not, I need to grab that and give it to you. They have the audio from the call, the 911 call.
I think there is some audio at the bottom of the story. Yeah.
That were on scene, that were trying to make heads and tails out of what was occurring. And during this time, we exchanged gunfire with the suspect, and we also got information. We received information from the White House, from Kash Patel, the FBI, from Governor Brad Little, and also Raul Labrador, that anything that we needed, that they would absolutely respond. So we had a lot of assets that came into that command post. And then we had a briefing about 6:30, about 18:30 hours at the command post. And in that briefing, we kind of gave an update to the agencies that this is still an active shooter, and that as soon as this individual could be neutralized, that he should be neutralized and the threat should be eliminated as quickly as possible. At approximately 1940 hours, we did have information that let me back up just a second. We had a cell phone activation that was in the same spot since about 3:16, and that it was in the same area, and we honed in on that cell phone, and we saw that there was a male, appeared to be deceased, with a weapon nearby. So we have currently one dead shooter. Based on the preliminary investigation that was being conducted, keep in mind we had a fire that was rapidly it was approaching the body, so we had to scoop up that body, and we had to transport that body to a different location. But based on the preliminary information, we believe that is the only shooter that was on that mountain at that time. So there is no threat to the community at this time. Based on the trajectory and based on the type of weapons that this individual had that we could recover, we believe only the one shooter.
All right.
Which is interesting because some of the audio, and Watcher, you'll know more about this than me, because some of the audio indicated that there was gunfire from more than one angle.
So I agree, but I was cautioning people from the beginning when we looked at the physical area that this is in. This is surrounded by canyon walls on three sides. This is a very, very prime area for echoes, particularly when you have, I think it was 7 or 8 large. Hold on, I need to pull it up on the map. We can go into Street View and I can show you. But you had like 7 or 8 large fire trucks that pull up in there that all create large sheer surfaces that are also primed for echoing. I said when we started this that you might end up finding out it's just one shooter, just because there is so much risk of echo. Hold on, we found out Bing Maps actually has the better Street View, which was super odd.
Hold on.
Yeah, I went to Google Maps last night, and
the Street View
it was terrible. Street View.
The Street View's real bad in Google Maps.
Terrible. I had to go with the satellite image to kind of try to understand.
Yeah. Give me just a okay. So here we are. This is Coeur d'Alene. This is where it happened. Now they don't have, there we go, the Nettle Gulch, and then it's right here, and then their tool for coming down to Street View is, what was it again? Street side. There we go. And then you drop it right here. So this is the parking lot where they kind of had pulled up to. This is probably where you would have parked the fire trucks, would have been like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you look There's mountains over here, mountains and trees over there, and then a pretty sheer wall behind you. This is a pretty terrible area to try and figure out where shots are coming from, because that sound's going to kettle back and forth off of everything.
Thank God he wasn't using a suppressor. Yeah, this is with the sound bouncing around, it'd be really hard to kind of. You'd have to really be listening. In Afghanistan, it was kind of similar, but usually the distances were a lot further, so we didn't have. But this looks like he literally could have been within 200 meters.
Wow.
Joe, what do you reckon? Oh, Joe stepped away.
Well, I
want to point something out that we're just talking about in the chat. Is he just admitted that they used a geofence warrant to find this phone, and that was recently actually ruled illegal. And I know he's going to say they have the exigent circumstances exception, but when you allow an exigent circumstances exception, they will always find an exigent circumstance to fit their situation. Geofence warrants saying, hey, I need all cell phones in this area are supposed to be illegal as of a couple weeks ago. But it sounds to me like they did it last night. And I get it. Lives were at risk, but they'll use that excuse every chance they can. We don't justify breaking the law because lives were at risk.
So here's what we found out last night. When you're looking at where the fire is, or where the fire was via, I forget what they're called, but NASA has a series of satellites that upload heat. So when you're tracking where the fire was via the heat map, it was over on this canyon wall like this. And so my theory was, and it turns out I was correct, is that the shooter was moving up and down this ridge line when he was engaging, because the road wraps entirely around that ridge line as it goes further up. And so in order to engage the fire from the top, they're going to have to park there, and then they're going to have to continue on foot past this.
And that's why they evacuated their first command post, right? It was in the line of fire because they thought he was somewhere else.
Yeah. I think the first command post they set up was down in here, and they weren't really sure where he was. And so the second command post they set up was clear the hell over here behind this other mountain, which ended up, and that's where I thought the shooting was at first, because that's where all the helicopters were circling. But it turns out they were circling there because they were all trying to figure out how to land and refuel.
So, I mean, this is a pretty, despite the fact that it sounds simple, single shooter, point ambush, long, far ambush, not a near ambush. It's pretty complex, despite the fact that it seems very simple.
And then another thing we're going to hear a lot of speculation about is, was the shooter the guy who called in? Because this has been a thing that people speculated about from the beginning. The police are saying they don't believe so, based on the phone recovered and based on the voice and name given by the original caller. They believe the original caller was just somebody out on a hike.
And that person hasn't come forward saying that they were the ones that made the call?
I haven't heard anything yet, but I woke up and did the show after the show last night. So
I can't imagine if they called in a cell phone, there's not some way for people to.
I'm sure there is. They're being very tight-lipped about literally anything that hasn't already been released and publicly by other sources than them.
Yeah. Before we get back into the story, let's go around the horn. Pete, you got any thoughts on this?
This is a common tactic when this broke last night. It made me recall an incident that happened in my hometown. This one, rather than starting the fire and firefighters, it was a fake domestic disturbance call. 4 detectives actually showed up, and they were all shot by an individual who was laying in the prone underneath the front porch of their home. This is not a new tactic, but it will be a tactic that will be employed going forward more so, I think.
Yeah. I the thing that I'm worried about is that people are going to see how effective a single shooter is at tying down a lot of resources. And this is one of the
Don't forget the Beltway sniper, DC sniper.
Oh yeah,
DC sniper gave me DC sniper vibes last night.
Yep.
Well, and more specifically to this exact same thing, Stormy posted a link to a story that happened in 2012 in New York, where someone set a fire to learn firefighters, and in Cincinnati last year or the year before, a Cincinnati or Cleveland, one of those, I'm not sure which, a Black Hebrew Israelite set a fire to his own house, lure them in, and shoot at fire and police.
Interestingly, it made me think of the one in Austin, was it, that happened around the same time period? Or no, maybe it was Dallas. I can't remember. It was Texas. There was a BLM activist who did the same thing, and it actually ended up becoming multiple incidents. I think he ended up getting like 4 cops or something. These are the families of the community, by the way. So they did a procession. As they were bringing him off the mountain, and all the families in the area lined up on the overpasses.
Yeah, this is just going after firefighters. I don't get it. I won't say that I was joking when I said this, but like I can understand how people are in conflict with the police, so they may have some very kind of hard feelings against the police and choose antisocial ways to take that out. But the firefighters are like, these are the good guys. So this doesn't scan for me. All right, let's move on deeper into the story here.
Well, and this next one is just backing up what Joe was saying.
If we had to fuel helicopters, and there are some helicopters that had some really good technology that were able to pinpoint where that cell phone activity was. So
Stingray on a helicopter sounds like
our federal partners assisted us in this situation. 100% they did. On a large operation like this.
Am I wrong, or does that sound like a Stingray on a helicopter? Because that's exactly what I thought when I heard it.
I cannot confirm or deny.
But yeah, I mean, it's simple. If they can already put them in police cars, why not put one on a helicopter?
Yeah. And then probably also they had thermal working too.
Yes, but they did. I don't know if they go over it in any of the stories you have, but they mentioned several times that the thermal was complicated both by the fire and the pine trees.
Pine trees, yeah. It's hard to see through the pine trees.
Yeah. Why did I plant so many pine trees around my house?
All right. County Commissioner Bruce Matere told reporters that the attack on the first responders was senseless and tragic beyond words. This is not who we are as a community, he said, adding that Coeur d'Alene was a place that's comprised of caring people. FBI Director Dan Bongino wrote on X that he had deployed assets to provide tactical and operational support. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem told the Independent Sunday that DHS is actively monitoring the scene in Coeur d'Alene. Residents of Coeur d'Alene lit the highway with American flags to honor the 2 firefighters killed. And so just this is I'm just seeing who this guy is.
Let me get I've got a better, longer procession one. Let me grab that. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Both of the men killed were in the same vehicle, and they were
Yeah.
two battalion chiefs. So there's a lesson in there about not putting all of your commanders in the same vehicle, right? And yeah, Arctic Boy raised an interesting point earlier on. This guy set up this skilled of an ambush, but also took his cell phone along and didn't post video or anything anywhere. That might be a bridge too far for me to believe.
Yeah, I mean, so when I was watching, I was covering it last night. I was doing all the things watch it. Just did I pulled up the map, trying to see and understand the terrain and what could possibly went down. I kind of had the same conclusion that maybe he was 300 meters or 300 yards in it, right? Like I couldn't see him shooting any way further out, all the foliage, all of the trees and the brush being in the way. But the thing about it, where I get what Watcher's saying, but I feel like he had some kind of help or some kind of second shooter. Somebody was there, even if the person who they found was the person that was assisting, and that he just left there for dead to get away. I didn't find it. I didn't think it was a good idea to lift the shelter in place, considering we don't know if that's the gun that took out the firefighters. We don't know if this ballistics match. They were not certain last night that he was the shooter. They were not certain at all last night, or when I covered the press conference at 12:30. They were not certain that that was the shooter. They just said we found a body with a gun. Right. They weren't sure. So I'm like, if you're not sure, and you don't know if these ballistics match, why are you lifting this shelter in place? There could very well be another shooter out there. Then with the cell phone, they pinged the cell phone, like that's how we found him. Okay, got you. But then you have the person that called in the fire, which I believe that if I'm going to set up an ambush, I'll make an anonymous call. Hey, there's a fire in the woods. Send help. If I'm really going to set up an ambush. You know what I mean? And if that cell phone doesn't match the caller's cell phone, that tells me that there was possibly a second person who made that phone call. So it's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense to me. You know, it just, I don't know. One of my subscribers last night said that there was some kind of anniversary to some event that happened in that area with some.
Well, yeah,
I think
a lot of leftists are bringing it up. I don't even know how accurate it is in the first place, but like the incident itself is so not a big fucking deal. Like I don't. Here's the anniversary. The anniversary is there was a building that was formerly used as some kind of meeting place by one of the white nationalist groups that the FBI broke up in the 80s. That in 2001 was turned over to the local fire department, and they used it for what they always use buildings that are turned over to the fire department for: practice burning it down and then putting it out.
Yeah, and I didn't know how true it was. I was just like, that's crazy if that's the case, but it just didn't make sense. It felt like it's just somebody just trying to create chaos for the sake of creating chaos. I don't know, what the agenda was behind it. But we found a body. We don't know the ethnicity. We don't know if he took himself out or not, which tells me, it makes me feel like the local law enforcement didn't find that body. Some other agency found it. And they didn't have any real information on it at the time of the
I should clarify. They didn't say that they didn't know the ethnicity or they didn't know the ID. They said they weren't releasing it.
Yeah.
They also didn't say they didn't know if he killed himself. They weren't releasing it.
I want to address Pinochet's point in the chat here. It says the rise of the war of the Moors, sovereign citizens, shut down I-95 in Massachusetts for 9 hours, never prosecuted. That's because they didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
They were never prosecuted because their actions were lawful. The Massachusetts law enforcement acted in an unlawful manner. Under the federal gun owners' protection rights, they were 100% legal in what they were doing. Now, they probably shouldn't have done it in that exact location, but they had to change their vehicle tire. I wouldn't have gone to the extreme of getting out with guns to do it, but they didn't break any laws.
Now, I'll bring up one other instance since it looks like we're over this that nobody else seems to have brought up yet, which is that in 2001, a young man in this community was tracked down and arrested by the feds for attempting to provide material support to ISIS.
Interesting.
So I don't know. Like I was saying, there's a reason that it happened here, right? There's a reason it happened in Coeur d'Alene.
Right.
And there are like 3 or 4 reasons I can think of that you do that. It's not a great target for, well, and specifically where they did it, it's not a great target for any of the Middle Eastern terrorist groups. If they were going to attack a place like Coeur d'Alene, they'd go and attack churches. They wouldn't attack a random hillside. It's not a great target for, I mean, first of all, a lot of people were saying right-wing nationalists, but like that's not them attacking police is not a pattern. That's not a thing that they do. The next logical thing is somebody local snapping, right? Like it happened in Coeur d'Alene because that's the locality where the person who is pursuing it is doing it. And the last thing is the biggest thing to me, and the one that struck out immediately as soon as I heard where it was at, is, hey, the last 5 or 6 times I've covered Coeur d'Alene, it's been because a bunch of leftists of various different flavors said, we want to go fight the Nazis. Let's go to Naziville, the place that was known for being the headquarters of the white nationalist movement in the 80s and 90s. And pretty much anybody there's going to be a Nazi, right? So they go up there and start doing dumb leftist bullshit until somebody tries to stop them.
Yeah, but that was kind of the place where they would go and pick a fight.
Correct.
It usually didn't end up well, though.
Well, it depends. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. It depended on, various different local politicians were on or against their side. So, I mean, the mayor is kind of...
I was going to say, what I was alluding to is the fact that they show up in this Nazi city only to find a lot of West Coast liberals.
Very no joy on that front. There are some local people who do kind of stand up and give them a hard time, but it's not many. It's a couple hundred tops in a community of like 55,000.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think we've kind of culminated on this topic. Any other points that we need to bring up?
No, just prayers out to the families, man, of the victims. It's sad. They're going out there to do a job to keep the community safe, to prevent, a bigger fire from happening, only to get their lives cut short by some lunatic. It's a sad state of affairs.
I guess the last thing I'll leave with, and Joe, I'd invite you to add to this, but like this should open your eyes about community security in a way that probably a lot of the other recent kind of troubles probably hasn't done. And if you don't think that something like this couldn't happen, i.e., like Joe, we talked about this not too long ago, like direct fire attacks by like sleeper cells from Hamas or something like that, or from Hezbollah or for IRGC, like direct fire would absolutely tie up an entire large metropolitan area. You could literally have 6 guys at strategic locations tie up an entire metro police department.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen literally anywhere. If you can get involved in a random shooting in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, you can get involved in one in any community in America. So you have to always be ready, always carry the right supplies, always carry a first aid kit, always carry a method of defending yourself.
Be blessed, stay strapped, don't miss, man. And then we got the 4th of July coming up. That's on the weekend.
Yeah.
Gunshots sound like fireworks and fireworks sound like gunshots. I'm just going to say,
as we get closer to 4th of July, we're going to talk a little more about this kind of planned, what is it? No Kings Part 2.
Well, yeah.
I mean, we'll see how that goes.
A quick note before we move on from this story, I think the perfect one to end in is that I know we have a lot of generous people in our audience and people who watch this show. Many of you may feel inclined to donate. The sheriff's office has said very specifically, do not donate to any fundraising accounts that are not explicitly shared by the sheriff's office or the fire department or the PD.
Yeah, that's a good
because
point.
this area has
always
suffered
those,
from this. Northern Idaho has the last couple of things that have happened up there have suffered from an inordinate number of grifters.
Facts. That's
Always verify those. And you know, Phoenix Ammo asked last night. He said, "Is it truck gun season again?" Listen, it was never not truck gun season.
That's a good point. That is an excellent point. All right. Let us move on to the Commie in NYC. Cannon, you being a resident of that neck of the woods, Baltimore's not, it's just right up the road. If I remember correctly, my train from DC to New York took me right through Baltimore.
right.
So, this kind of thing. Here's the argument I'm going to make, and I'm going to include Baltimore in this collection of cities. I'm also going to bring Philly into this. I'm going to mention San Francisco. We all know about the dog poop, index that they have. The app that tracks dog crap or human crap. Out there in San Francisco, and just what a fucking nightmare that place became. So bad that they had to recall the mayor and the prosecutor. And we saw what Karen Bass has done with L.A. And when the fires occurred, the hydrants are empty. This is what socialism or communism, let's just be honest with you. Communism is socialism by different means, right? This is not a new thing. This whole New York City guy is not a new thing. This is a trend that we've seen. He's running on a playbook. I call it. I think it's Trump has a national populist kind of method. I think this is basically a populist socialism method or populist communism method. AOC, the squad has leaned into this, but not as hard as he has. And let's be honest, he's not going to be able to do any of this stuff because you can't fucking pay for this stuff in America. Because, you only have so much money to spend with. Communist regimes, they only work as long as they do because it's like a Ponzi scheme. You have to steal from everybody in order to pay for, your Soviet style grocery stores that you want to open up. And so I guess we shouldn't be super surprised by this guy, but at the same time, a lot of people are really worried and surprised. I think the people of New York City need to live through this guy's administration in order to see what they're going to get.
Well, before we move on, Scott, I do have to say that I believe I quote the great Marty Robbins when I say communism, socialism, call it what you like. There's very little difference in the two.
This is true. It's literally how you get there is kind of the difference. Socialists always rise to power in the midst of failed liberal leadership. The assumption being that liberal policies accomplish nothing because they don't go far enough to push the collectivist values of wealth redistribution and equity-based cultural engineering. If only the political left asserted more control over the people's lives and property, all the ailments of American society would magically disappear. Oh, the promises of communism. In most cases, socialism also fails to make people's lives better, though one could argue that it does eventually achieve its goal of equal wealth, i.e. everybody's poor. In countries where socialism actually finds success, quote unquote, a couple factors are always present: a small population that avoids multiculturalism, mixed demographics, and access to abundance of natural resources. Most people point to the Scandinavian countries as socialist countries that work. Those are not socialist countries. They are capitalist democracies with a very robust and basically natural resource funded social safety net. So for all you stupid teenagers that may catch this show, those are not socialists. The city of New York is on the verge of learning this lesson the hard way with the sudden popularity of mayoral candidate Zoran Mandani. Zoran Mandani, the 33-year-old assemblyman, Democratic socialist, and rap music producer, defied expectations, pulled well ahead to presume victory over former Governor Andrew Cuomo. God, talk about a candidate that nobody was asking for. The rebirth of Andrew Cuomo. I mean, you've seen this, Cannon. You've seen this probably a ton of times. Joe, same thing. I mean, the whole good old boy system in these Democratic run. Basically, it's like, oh, well, it's his turn, or this is how we got Bob Dole back in the fucking 90s. It's cronyism, right?
Yeah, and let's not forget what Andrew Cuomo did during the pandemonium. Okay, let's not forget how many senior citizens are no longer with us before they were supposed to be no longer with us because of his dereliction of duty. Let's not forget about that. And they tried to sweep that under the rug with a scandal. Remember the scandal, guys, that actually ultimately got him ousted from the governorship of New York. Not the criminal stuff that he did during the COVID base. They used a scandal to get him out of the paint. And now all of a sudden, because the coast is clear, now all of a sudden he wants to run for mayor. So there's no love lost for Andrew Cuomo. But this guy, man, what's his name, Mamdani? He's Andrew Yang. He's an Indian Andrew Yang. That's what he is right here. From what I can, he wants free transportation. Like he's going to bankrupt New York with his 200,000 new affordable apartments. New York's an expensive city.
Oh yeah,
and they're broke. New York's an expensive city. It costs a lot of money to live in New York, and they're broke. So now you're going to try to come in here and bankrupt them some more with your chocolate milk at every water fountain takes, because that's what it is. He's promising chocolate milk at every water fountain. Yeah. And the people of New York are going to sit here and fall for it like they do every year. Now, I would argue to say that what's the current mayor now? Eric Adams. Eric Adams actually came to his senses finally, right? We saw him come to his senses during the whole sanctuary city stuff, and then they tried to get him on a RICO. You know what I mean? So like you said, the good old boy system is in full effect.
He was coming to his senses before the whole sanctuary city stuff. That's the reason why they went after him.
He had some stutter starts in that regard.
Well, right. He was not like on the side of the angels. He just wasn't being puritanical.
Yeah, he started asking questions.
Exactly.
And then they was like, "Oh, we'll show you." And now his job is on the line, but they're going to go out and they're going to vote for this because the sound is so fantastical. The sound's great, and New York's they're going to pay dearly for that if this guy gets in.
Yeah. Hey, Pinochet's helicopter tours for $5 over on Rumble. Would moderate Democrats in New York dare say no to his request to impose his will and risk him blaming Democrats for not going full communist and him unleashing the leftist populist upon the moderates? The irony is that not only will this stuff not work because he doesn't have enough money,
right,
but a lot of it's illegal. A lot of it, violates federal statutes.
And we haven't even brought up the jizya yet.
We haven't brought up how much how much more in taxes is going to cost the average citizen of New York to even remotely try to pull off a modicum of what he's trying to do. Oh yeah, we're going to do it for free. However, it's going you're going to have $200,000 a year to afford it.
Here's what's going to happen. If you make more than $10 million, you're basically going to take your apartment, turn it into an Airbnb, and move to Florida until this guy's out of there. And they're not going to have any call on your income because you don't have a residence there. You have a rental property at that point. And then when, somebody sensible comes in 4 years or whatever, then you just move right back into your old apartment and, convert it back from a rental property into a residence again. That's what's going to happen. I mean, they're not going to get any of this money from these rich people because they're basically going to say deuces,
He's going to kill all business in the city.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
While there are 11 candidates on the ranked choice ballot, by the way, ranked choice ballot, terrible idea.
Oh, Michigan has proposed ranked choice balloting because.
Oh, yeah, because they want
way to win.
Right. While there were 11 candidates on ranked choice ballot, preliminary polling named Cuomo and Mamdani as the front runners by a large margin. Cuomo frequently polled above Mamdani in the weeks leading up to the day of the vote, but the former governor ultimately ended up calling his opponent on Tuesday night to concede. Mamdani left Cuomo 44-36 amongst first place votes, with 96% of ballots counted as of around 1 p.m. on Wednesday. A Muslim immigrant born and raised in Uganda, Mamdani only became a legal citizen in 2018. I think this is an excellent opportunity for them to use the lawful power of the Justice Department to strip him of his citizenship as an agent of a foreign power, i.e., a communist power, whichever one it may be. Let's see, if you thought New York City could not get any worse, get ready, because Mamdani becomes mayor. His policies will prove the progressive enclave has far to fall. A look at his campaign proposals reveals a disturbing list of childish ideas. Rent and housing controls, defunding the police. He wants to replace the entire NYPD with like a counseling department, essentially.
Good luck. It's like 17,000 people, right?
I would like to cut to the chase here. He appears to be, by the way, whoever recommended these Fisherman's Friend lozenges, these are kick ass.
You sound almost 100%.
Yeah, like as long as I've got one of them in and I'm actively using one, it's great. And then as soon as it's done, I go right back to like all the crud in my throat again. Anyhow, I have seen this put forward and I think it's credible. I believe that the globalists are putting people like him and Bass, people who have connections to these large international foundations, in charge of our major cities in preparation for a civil conflict. We won't give you the whole Beanie Boy, the Beanie Boy word, but we will say civil conflict.
Yeah. Well, let's listen to, don't take my word for it. Take his word for it. Let's see what he has to say here about right here.
Oftentimes, we've even found as legislators, when we go into these courts, the term violent crime is even used when people are stealing packages. Violent crime is even used when people are accused of burglary and there happens to be a housing unit in that same dwelling. So violence is an artificial construction. We have to be very clear that what is happening here with these district attorneys, that is violence. That is violence at the highest degree.
What?
So wait a second. Words are violence, but then if you actually, violently take something from somebody's person, then that's not violent. I mean,
listen, never ever underestimate these people and what they say. Take them at their word. They say things like words can be violence, because what's justified when somebody uses violence against you? Violence.
What's a little strong arm robbery between fucking neighbors? Sorry for cussing.
That's right.
That is
You're good.
crazy.
You're good.
That is nuts. Like, and they're clapping. Like, what is going on here? What is we're splitting hairs? Is what he just did. Yeah. So what? You just got punched in the face for your Amazon package. It's just a little mouse under your eye. Like, is this what we're doing here? Like, this is what they want. You know what? You might be right, Scott. New York gonna have to learn a hard lesson, but
I think this is the best thing for them. Honestly, I honestly do.
And I want, before we move on from that, I just want to say a lot of people are saying things like, "Oh, conservatives can't just give up the large cities. Listen, you can't save anyone from. Yeah.
I can save us all from I can't save us all from well-armed Corky's $20 super chat. That is not cheap, my friend. The only thing Mandani represents is a strategy change on the part of the left. He's a character from Central Casting, the left simply trying to tap into the well of anti-establishment antipathy that Trump has. Here's the interesting thing about it, right? They are scared shitless of using the young vote. And what they do is they are going after the smallest percentage of the young vote that they have a solid lock on, and basically going that as their base. And the only reason why it works is because it's New York fucking City. It's Karen Reed in Los Angeles. It's like these liberal hellholes. They've got a lock on it. So if they can beat the Andrew Cuomo, then this guy's in like Flint.
And let's not forget about how AOC did come about. She came about from a casting, essentially staffing agency. Is how she got her, she rose to, become a congresswoman. I wouldn't be shocked if Mamdani isn't from the same camp.
Yeah.
They keep telling me he's from Uganda, but he sure sounds like he came from Djibouti.
All right. What else is he doing?
I couldn't resist, right? I mean,
get this. He wants to raise minimum wages to $30. He wants higher taxes on the richer and whiter neighborhoods.
You know what $30 an hour does to the price of the average corner hot dog in New York City?
It puts it out of business.
Yeah, it becomes $46 for a hot dog from a vendor on a street corner. And you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No. Pinochet's helicopters for $1 says, can Watcher expand a bit on the purpose of globalist mayors which fit in a civil war scenario?
Certainly. Look here, the right's not the only one who appreciate and understand the fact that all control is ultimately local. You can't collect taxes. You can't enforce an edict with internet power, with air power, with naval power. You can only do that with local, on the ground political power, and that's how shit gets done. So why are they controlling? I would say specifically, why are they controlling New York and Los Angeles? Well, where are our major ports of entry? If you were going to have to do a sustained operation in America, what would you need to take in order to ensure that you were able to carry that out? Like, this is just long-term scheming, right? It could never get to that point. But if you don't believe the people that are playing on that level set stuff up just in case, you're out of your mind. This is the actual play for keeps game. This is the one, the actual biggest sociopaths in the world with the biggest pockets are all engaged in. And it's for keeps. There's no kiddie table here.
It's a great way to put it. There's no kiddie table in this thing, and they're gonna get the big boy lessons pretty soon with this guy. The good news is that America, as it exists today, does a great job of basically disempowering these folks. But all bets are off once the Trump administration is over. And let's be honest, the Trump administration is still not even a sure thing. So,
does anyone notice his terrible video where he tried to proclaim that his third world experiences would enable him to be a leader, and he's trying to eat rice with his fingers, and it feels miserable.
Obviously for the first time in his life.
Yeah. The guy's been a trust fund kid from day one, and it's just silly.
Well, hey, gents, there's still a lot left on this topic, but I've got to dip out. I got a lot of stuff to do today. So,
well, we're gonna call it at this point anyway. Because,
okay, never mind then.
Yeah, we're not. We're all the other stuff is basically just essentially things that we covered in discussion. So there's no need to pull up all this. And we're at 2 hours, so I'm gonna have to call it here too. Got work in the morning, gents. All right. So, Watcher, let's see. Let's go around the horn. Joe, look into this week. We got the promised protest on Friday. Anything else you kind of see in the crystal ball?
Let's not write off Iran just yet. They have called for the assassination of Trump and Netanyahu. So I would watch for that. Everyone's saying that this guy's not the Ayatollah. The Ayatollah is whoever.
Yeah.
So I would watch for some sort of action on that, some sort of Iranian-based terror, and then I will watch. I'd watch for that, and I'd watch those protests this week. So,
yeah. Cannon, what do you think for the week?
Yeah, it's going to. I got a feeling it's going to be a couple. I don't know. It's just my conspiracy brain. I think we may have a couple of spicy events, maybe. I don't trust going out for 4th of July. Just I just got a feeling something's going to happen. You got the protest happening on Friday. It's just, it's like a breeding ground for something bad to happen. So just if you're out there, guys, be safe and like Joe said, protect your neck with whatever you got. If you can carry something, carry the biggest thing you can carry lawfully. It is truck gun season. All right, guys.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Just stay frosty, keep your head on the swivel, and stay low.
Yeah, 100%. Watcher.
Yeah, a lot of people, even in our chat, are misinterpreting what truck gun season means. Truck gun season doesn't mean you leave your gun in the truck. You have a gun on you. You have a bigger gun in the truck.
Correct.
That's what a truck gun is.
There you go.
Anyways,
and that's why I'm so disappointed by the loss of the Short Act, because I was really hoping to be able to buy a nice 11.5 inch barreled truck gun when I got home.
No. I keep advising people to stop that. If you need a rifle, you need a rifle.
Yes.
Short barrel or a pistol.
Or a pistol caliber carbine. If you need a rifle, you need a fucking rifle.
Yes. When it's time to go to the big guns, get out the big guns.
Convert it over to a 300 blackout.
There you go.
Well, there you go. I'm a 300 Win Mag guy myself, but anyways, as far as the next couple days goes, guys, I'd keep your eyes out, because like a lot of people are trying to spin what happened in Coeur d'Alene as some kind of psyop or something. Guys, it's incredibly real, and I would say that if you're these events tend to cluster, whether they're involved or not. If there are other unstable people who are on the edge and thinking about doing something like this, they see that and they go, "Ooh,
I can get someone to talk about me too." Yep.
Yeah. The fact that Antifa might be like, "Wow, did you see how effective this was?" Now, if only we can get some guys who are willing to basically just to die in a blaze of glory for our thing. Yeah, we can do this. John Brown Gun Club. Hey, you guys are up on deck.
Which there is a very large contingent of right next door to where this happened.
Exactly right.
Anyhow, yeah, that's it. Keep yourself healthy. Everybody, stay hydrated.
100%. Don't get sick like Watcher. All right, guys, that's all I've got for today. Thank you very much. If you haven't done already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit the bell for notifications. Let your folks know out there in the interwebs that you're getting some good information from the Council on Future Conflicts, the most accurate council on the information superhighway. I haven't thought about that in a long time. All right, that's all I got. Thank you very much. We'll be back on Wednesday, same time, same bat channel. And as always, stay safe.